guys, my name is Akshat Goyal and I'm a logical reasoning faculty here at CLATapult. Today we'll decode another section in the logical reasoning section, which is main idea. So how do we exactly go about with logical reasoning passages and critical thinking passages asking you to identify the main idea is something we'll decode in today's video. The main idea of a critical thinking or a critical reasoning passage ties together all the different arguments that the author is making as well as the main theme of the passage itself. This can be questioned in two ways, either directly, which asks you to identify what is the main idea of the particular passage, or even indirectly, which asks you suggest a suitable title for the passage. All of these questions are asking you to identify and appreciate the main idea behind the passage. Now, this becomes a very important section because even if it's not being tested, without understanding the main idea, it becomes really difficult to, say, answer other questions. Because if you can't understand or cannot identify main idea kya hai, then how will you appreciate the questions themselves? The reason this happens, where students get stuck in identifying the main idea, it could be because of two reasons. Number one is that they read it bahut upar se. They do not go into the intricacies of it enough. They see the first few words, they just glance over it and read it very quickly. This will not help you appreciate the facts. You might miss the bigger picture. There's so many passages out there that discuss an entire concept by a simple example. So the author might say something like, COVID's effect on sports, right? It might go on and say about how there were no football matches, blah, blah, blah. You might think the entire passage is about football, but it might just be about something larger, something sports in general. So don't just glance through it. Do read it a little thoroughly to help you understand. However, this on the flip side can be detrimental as well. If you read too much into the passage, do not read and underline every single word without appreciating the value of that word in consonance with what was written in the previous word, the previous sentence, the previous paragraph, right? So if you tie it all together to help you understand the main idea better. So what do we focus on to identify the main idea very clearly? A general tip that you will get from a number of sources, and I truly stand by this. Reading the first few lines and the last few lines is always of particular help if you're stuck. So these particular lines are either introducing the concept or concluding the concept. So in a traditional way of writing, these will usually hint out what the main idea is, if not directly stated. So these particular lines can be extremely helpful. And if you're stuck, go and read them again and again. Understand why a passage has been written. So the entirety of this particular topic, you have to keep on asking the question, what is the author driving at? What is the purpose of this discussion? What is the author trying to say? So always keep on thinking what and try and answer that for yourself as you read through passage. So keeping that in mind, keeping the fact in mind that there should be a bigger picture that you should look at and ask the question what. Let's just go through 2-3 tips to help you identify main idea better. Number one, eliminate options that are ultra specific from the passage. If the passage talks about, say, the evolution of football or say the evolution of cricket or anything for that matter, and the passage talks about one particular football game, or the option rather talks about one particular football game, it's very irrelevant. It's too in-depth, and that's what the author is saying. It has to be slightly more macro in nature. Number two, don't choose options that simply have excerpts from the passage without hitting the main idea. Number three, omit premises and assumptions. Ideally, the main idea should be there in the passage itself, and you should use the passage to bring it out. Do not go ahead and choose an assumption the author is making. Make these differentiations very clear. What is a statement? What is an assumption? What is a conclusion? And what is a theme? Main idea is always the theme for a particular passage. And finally, this is something that a number of students face a difficulty with when two options look particularly close or particularly same in the main idea. If this happens, then in all likelihood, one of the two options is missing something, which is for you to identify. Say if the main idea or the passage discusses X, Y, and Z, option A will only have X and Y, whereas option 2 will have X, Y, and Z altogether. So see what is different, or what's the difference between the two options you're stuck at, and see which is closer to the author's arguments themselves. I hope this helps you identify main ideas better and get faster at this process. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you next time.